Hey, welcome to a Awkwardly Awesome Podcast 197. Oh gosh, I love this. We're getting up there, and I love that 197 is older than I am too. That's good. That's a good thing. It's a good thing. Today I've only just met my guest today recently, but I can tell that she brings fun and joy and creativity to life, and that just adds so much to life, and I'm trying to do more of that, because being an adult can get so serious and so serious. I guess that's me doing serious, serious. But it doesn't help that I'm laughing as I do it. But sometimes as adults, we can get so serious and think there's only one way to do things and only one way to look at things, and it can get frankly claustrophobic. And I've definitely been there at many points, so I'm excited to talk with my guest. But first, this.
Today's guest, Darby Krug.
Welcome back. I'm still your host, Jason Freeman, and I still am proud to be rocking a speech impediment. Anyway, let me tell you about my guest. I was preparing to give a presentation in a theater as part of a local conference when a month ago, when I looked up and saw Darby Krug, Krug come in. She was the first person to enter the room, so I introduced myself. As we started talking, I quickly stopped thinking about my upcoming talk and became engrossed in a story she told me about her role at a past workplace. She was hired as an activity director at a long-term care nursing home. The What inspired me was the activities she mentioned coming up with were amazing. They kept everyone not only entertained, but were designed to help them discover and maintain a sense of purpose and joy in their lives. So cool. I knew I wanted to have her on the podcast. So without further ado, Darby.
Hello.
Hello. Your screen was dark for a sec, so
I know it kind of froze for a second too. I was like, "Oh no, what did I do?"
I'm glad you're here. Thanks for
Thank you for
having
having
an
me.
what?
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for having an awkwardly awesome podcast conversation with me. Well, I mean, we hardly know each other, so but if I had known you at age like 7 or 8 and asked you, "Hey, Debbie, what do you think you want to do when you grow up?" What would you have said?
When I was that age, I wanted to be either a helicopter pilot or I wanted to ride. I wanted to be the garbage man so I could ride on the back of the garbage truck. That's what I wanted to be when I grew up.
So what intrigued you about being a helicopter pilot?
I really wish I remembered. I know I told my dad I wanted a purple helicopter, And there was something about being up in the air, and they were just so cool. And I was like, I could do that. I could drive a purple helicopter. And apparently that's what I had my heart set on, was a purple helicopter. Yeah.
I have a bit. Did you have like? Were you transporting people in a purple helicopter?
No, I think we might have lived near the hospital, so maybe I saw like the helicopters coming in and out of there a lot. And I lived over in Kansas City area, and so maybe that's where I saw them. I don't know.
That sounds like a fun life flying a purple helicopter around.
Right? That sounds pretty fantastic.
So you had that vision, and then you also had a vision, which I haven't heard on the podcast, riding on the back of garbage trucks.
Yeah, that looked like the best job in the world. And so, again, I have no idea, like, where I went wrong that I didn't get to do that in my adult life. But I thought that looked like so much fun when I was a kid. So, you know,
I mean, maybe another career.
yes, yes. I gotta say though, every time I see it now as an adult, I do still look at it and go, oh, I could have done that. And it still looks fun. So
Awesome. Uh, so what else were you interested in as a kid?
Oh, I really loved everything my sister loved. I loved singing Beach Boys. I sang Kokomo until, my parents couldn't stand it anymore. And I collected rocks. I had 25 different rock collections. And I don't know, I was just kind of goofy. I like to tell stories. My sister recalls being really mad at me when I was a kid. We went to the Renaissance Fair, and I guess after the storyteller finished telling the kids' story, I told a story to the storyteller and drew a crowd. And there was a troll that's supposed to jump out of the bridge and scare the festival people. And apparently the troll jumped out to scare everybody, and I told the troll another story drawing a crowd. And my sister just couldn't stand how outgoing I was when I was a little kid. So you never would have guessed it.
This is your sister older or younger than you?
That one was my older sister.
Cool. How many siblings do you have?
There are 5 of us total. I've got 4 sisters.
Oh,
Yeah. My dad had his hands full.
so I'm an only child. What
Oh.
was it like growing up with lots of sisters?
It comes with its challenges. We very much love each other and are there for each other no matter what, but we are the first people to be hard on each other, and to be very critical of each other. So it's kind of twofold. You have a built-in best friend forever, but you also have people that really don't hold back when they feel like you're making the wrong choices or dressing in a way you shouldn't dress. Like, they're right there to rein you back in. So it's interesting. You don't realize what you have until you're older. Now as an adult, I definitely appreciate it a lot more than I did when I was a kid. That's for sure.
So am I understanding like when you say sisters aren't always the most diplomatic to each other?
No, not the least bit. They have no problem. Like, you'll walk in the house and you're wearing some kind of shirt, and they'll go, ugh, why'd you choose that? Like, not diplomatic, no tact.
and kind of like, I was hoping for more self-esteem this morning.
Right. But I will say, we took a trip to New York City with one of my younger sisters and my dad, and my sister and I just fought almost the whole time. But on the way back, we had ridden the ferry, the train, um, and above ground trains, the subway, cabs, and a bus. And then we were at the airport going from one plane to another, and I got horribly sick. It was just so much motion sickness from all the different traveling.
Oh, you
And
get
my
motion
sister,
sick.
yeah, it was bad. But even after all of the fighting that my sister and I had, she was the one holding my hair back and getting me drinks of water and a cold compress for my head. And so she was the first person to take care of me, even though we had been fighting for a week straight. So that's kind of like what sums up sisterhood is you're going to fight, but you'll be right there for each other when you need each other.
It's such an interesting description because I mean people in this world have a lot of different opinions.
Yeah.
That's probably not a news flash. But somehow what you're describing is the ability to have different opinions and yet really love and care and be kind to each other
Right.
at times when it really matters.
Right. Exactly. For sure. And I think that's kind of across the board. Hopefully, even if, like, as a whole, we don't get along or don't agree on something, hopefully we can still respect each other enough to get along. Hopefully.
So you grew up in central or southern Missouri?
Yes, around that area. We kind of moved around a little bit when I was a kid. So I say that I grew up in Missouri. I spent a little time in Arkansas and a little time in Kansas, but most of from what I remember from childhood, is all from just around Springfield, Missouri, and it is a great place to grow up. It's you've got parks, you've got shopping, restaurants, all the good stuff. So I love that area.
Wonderful. For someone who's never been to Springfield, who's listening, what should they definitely see when they go to
Oh,
Springfield?
they should. Okay, you ready for this? Okay, there's all sorts of like camping and trails. So they should definitely go to like find some of the parks and some of the trails.
Hmm.
They should go watch a Springfield Cardinals baseball game. They should go a little bit south to Ozark and go to Lambert's, home of the Throwed Rolls, very famous.
Home of
And
what?
the Throwed Rolls. They take your dinner roll, and the dinner roll is about the size of your face,
Hmm.
and they come out hot out of the oven,
Hmm.
and there's a guy that throws them across the restaurant to you, and everybody just puts up their hand and they come out and they yell hot rolls and you catch the roll. It's the craziest thing ever. Definitely worth going there. And then there's just so many shopping places and just amazing restaurants. So plan to eat out a lot. So bring a lot of money so you can eat out. They've got great restaurants.
Wow, sounds cool.
Yeah.
Oh, how about the place? It's that huge Bass Pro Shop thing and
Yes, home of the Bass Pro too. That's where Bass Pro originally started, was there in Springfield, and they've got an amazing like aquatic center there now. And they've put a lot of time and money and effort into it. It's a lot of fun. It's a really good experience. I've taken my kids through, but even as an adult, it's like the jellyfish aquarium is like so cool. And then you get to pet are they like manta rays or stingrays, something
mm,
like that? You get to pet
mm,
those, and they're super duper soft. And yeah, Bass Pros, it's a great place to shop. It's fun.
yeah, I enjoy when I that was cool.
Yeah.
Amazing. So so what what was your vision after after the riding on the back of the garbage truck and helicopter?
After that, I actually decided I had an amazing friend named Jesse, who was lived full time in a wheelchair, but he had cerebral palsy. And I was super lucky that I got to do physical therapy with him and his therapist. And so, after deciding that garbage truck life was not for me, I decided, and I had my heart set on being a physical therapist.
Mm.
As a teenager, though, I had a lot of people telling me that it was really hard to get into pediatric physical therapy, and it was super discouraging. So
Mm.
I kind of veered off a little bit and couldn't decide quite what I wanted to do for a little bit. I like to change my mind a lot of what I'm super passionate about. But I stuck onto that, and I still I got to do a little bit of occupational therapy with another friend, and both physical therapy and occupational therapy are just, I don't know, those are just phenomenal. Especially like the pediatric realm is just so cool to me.
It's so tempting to caution people about a career path sometimes and say,
Yeah.
"Oh, do you really know what it takes?" In
Yeah.
retrospect, what do you wish the people around you had said about PT?
That's a really great question. I really feel like keeping your personal struggles to yourself sometimes, or your bias, I should say, your personal bias. When I remember I got to shadow he did sports physical therapy, and I got to shadow this guy, and it was whenever I was in school. They had career opportunities class, and when I was shadowing the whole group of physical therapists, they all said, "Oh yeah, I mean, pediatric OT sounds cool, but you can't get into those programs. It's really hard." And
Mm.
so, I'm here and it's okay, but and another guy said, "Oh yeah, well, I just got to the sports PT, but I ended up having to do like work in a nursing home for a long time, doing physical therapy there." And they're like, looking back now, their bias, I guess, or maybe their struggle to get into the area that they wanted, they were very discouraging, telling me that, "Oh yeah, it's too hard and it's never going to work." And like they planted a lot of doubt in my head of, well, if they had such a hard time doing it, like who am I to think that I can do it? So I don't know. I say, as we're giving advice to young people, we definitely have to make sure they know, like, I struggled with that, but I have, I bet that if you keep your mind at it and you find the right mentors, that you're gonna have an easier time finding the path that you want. So even in, I mean, there's a way to word it that we can say, well, it didn't work for me, but it doesn't mean it's not going to work for you. Kind of talk. Yeah.
Or I suppose we could even say, "Hey, that didn't work for me yet, but I
Yes,
don't know what your
exactly.
experience will be."
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that is a great way to word it.
So when I met you, you were so nice to be the first person into where I was speaking, and you started telling me about being an activity director
At
at
a nursing home.
a nursing home, and that sounds like a challenging role, challenging field to me because there are certain predictable activities like bingo that seem like they're often done. But
Yeah.
how did you start creating new ideas?
So, my job as an activity director, I was super fortunate. I had an amazing boss that was really encouraging, and she gave me some really excellent training. And then she connected me with some really good people on the state level too. And when I was hired on, she said, "Okay, like we had just finished." Not finished, but it was the end of the big COVID era, and she said, "We just need some fun. Can you bring the fun?"
Mm.
I was like, "Well, yeah, let's go."
Mm.
And so, you know, I hopefully this answers your question, but it was a lot of just, okay, well, what do I like to do? And so it was a lot of searching random holidays. I loved the holidays like National Oreo Cookie Day. And
Oh,
we
wow.
tried all the different flavors of Oreos. Actually, well,
Mm.
I think I got like 8 different flavors of Oreos. And we tried like the toffee nut and the coffee cream and a few of those random mint flavored Oreos. And it was just so fun. And so, you want to do the favorites, the classics, like you're referring to bingo. Bingo is the favorite. Um, but even then we try to shake it up. So we did Valentine's bingo and 4th of July bingo and Christmas bingo. And then we, try to shift the prizes. So the prizes aren't always the same. And, sometimes they get things like notebooks and calendars and flowers. Like, oh, we had a beautiful garden. So we got to get some flowers and put them in a vase. And that was
Oh.
that was a really nice one. And then sometimes they were like, "Oh, okay, well, I have not had a Dr. Pepper, in 15 years. Can I have a Dr. Pepper?" I'm like, "Yep, I'll put it to the bingo cart." So it was definitely finding a mix of interviewing people too. And I don't know if this is answering another question you had, but it was awesome because I got to sit down one on one with each and every resident that would come into the nursing home, and I would sit.
With each of them?
Oh yeah, every single one. We'd sit down, we do a one-on-one conversation, and I ask them about their hobbies over their life. So,
Over their life.
yeah, it was so fun. So they would say things like I met somebody that used to sew hot air balloons.
Wow.
And I met someone and got to speak with her. She became a teacher the year or the summer, only short months after D-Day. And she said that all the teachers that were there were shipped off overseas to go fight in the war, and she stayed back and became a teacher literally only a couple months after she graduated high school.
At
And
high school.
yes. And then I got to hear stories of a woman who is from Puerto Rico and she loved to dance. And so getting to know all these different people, I'd say, "Okay, well, what do you like to do?" And one guy, he used to be a bingo caller, and I said, "Oh, you're my backup. You want to come help me call bingo?" And then
You had a resident who used to be a bingo call.
yes,
That's
professional bingo
amazing.
caller. And so I got to, recruit him every now and then to help. And I had a few former teachers that they loved to help with arts and crafts, and they helped other residents, their peers who had a hard time with motor functioning.
Mm.
If they couldn't do some of the hands-on activities, I had a few former teachers. They loved the opportunity to help a friend to play bingo or to help a friend with their arts and crafts project.
Mm.
And I had a man. He spent a lot of time alone and did not love living in a nursing facility. But he talked one day about matchbox car racing and how he used to love, building little race cars and riding in like derby cars and stuff like that. So we actually did like I set up like a matchbox car track, and he got to race little race cars. And it was the first time I saw him smile, and he was so excited, and it brought him so much joy on that day that we raced cars. So not only did I get to have some phenomenal historical conversations, but I got to find activities that really like struck home to some of those people that it's stuff that they hadn't done in a long time. So that was really
Okay, Debbie, where in the world did you find a Matchbox car track?
well, I actually there's a couple like antique shops that I had to go through and to try to find them. But I found them. I did find somebody with race car tracks. It was pretty great.
Wow.
Yeah. Lots of
And,
pawn shops and antique shops.
and then you were telling me about what you did for the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, we had a Kentucky Derby day. We made oh Kentucky, what are they called? The I'm blanking. The race car, the Kentucky Derby races. I'm blanking on their name right now. Or just horse racing. It's just a horse racing game. Where I made like a big like horse racing board that was like the length of a table, like a really, really long dinner table. And I put little horse riders on little styrofoam cups, and they had to roll a giant dice and then move the horses down to see whose horse wins the race. But they got to link in their cognitive skills because they had to think through like how many spots they got to move. They're doing a physical activity because they had to roll the dice, some like fine motor for some smaller movements that we were doing. And then it was like a group game. They all got to race against each other. And I think they were racing for like candy and Dr. Pepper that day. So that was pretty fun.
Um, so fun.
Yeah.
So really fun. And it's so interesting because this fun is more work on your part, going to the antique stores and thrift stores and finding the Matchbox car track,
Yeah.
making the Kentucky Derby track. It's more work for you. And sometimes in jobs, we can get into a place where we try to do the minimum.
Yeah.
What inspires you to what inspired you in that job to go above and beyond what you had to do?
I gotta say, seeing the smile on people's face and having people engage is makes all of the extra effort worth it. It's when you're working in that environment, you tend to be surrounded by a lot of people that their body is fighting against them. And I'm almost 40, but I forget that I'm not 20. And so I can imagine, I have a few that they're in their 90s, and they get frustrated, and or they get upset or sad because their family can't come visit because their family is also older and aging now. And to be able to help bring other people joy and to see them smiling and laughing. And I mean, there is a day we were laughing so hard that we were crying, and it was like I'm trying to stop myself from laughing again because those moments are just, they make it worth it. They're priceless to make somebody or to be able to bring that much joy to someone's life in a day, in a moment. And then hopefully, like, I had a woman, she did not want to come out of her room. She was so upset and just that she was there. And I said, just give it one try. Give me one party. She goes, okay, fine. I'll come to your party. And I stuck her by a couple, I say stuck her. I put her by a couple gentlemen that are just a riot. They're so funny. And I put her by them. And from that day on, she said, oh, will they be there? And I said, yeah, they sure will. And she goes, okay, I'll come then. And and from that point on, it made her time there so much more meaningful. She laughed and she looked forward to being around people, and she wasn't as lonely And so putting in the extra effort, that's like, it's a piece of cake whenever you see the long-term effect of the little extra effort that you can put in. So it makes it worth it.
So sounds inspiring to
Yeah,
see her laughing with those guys.
it was funny. It was a really good time.
Um, what would you what advice, encouragement would you give to caregivers who are in a home situation and maybe caring for a loved one who's aging or something
Yeah.
like that?
Oh, I would say for sure patience and patience and understanding. Definitely, find moments that you can be on the same ground, that you can have fun. Don't take it so seriously. There are times that definitely the moment is serious, and you do have to, buckle down. But I would say it's when you get yourself overwhelmed and stuck, that's whenever you need to find something fun to do. And the understanding, I don't know what it's like to be 95 and trapped in a body that's fighting me. So when somebody is upset and grouchy, I can't take it personally. So that's kind of my advice is when people are fighting back and are upset and they're, grouchy, or when they're feeling dysregulated, you can't take it personally. You've got to make sure that you're doing what you can on your part to regulate, to take yourself out of the equation and say, man, they're having a really hard day. What's one thing I can do that will make them smile? And if that's, taking them outside for a couple minutes, or picking flowers, or renting Matlock on Amazon Prime, you do what you can to to bring a smile and to lighten the mood a little bit.
Renting a what?
Renting Matlock.
Man, the TV show.
The TV show. That was one thing. That was one gentleman. He just really wanted to watch Matlock. He was so upset one day. So we rented Matlock. That's what we did.
It sounds like you said a little bit about there has to be a better expression for this, but I'm not thinking of one at the moment, so I'll just
Okay.
say it sounds like you what would you say about the idea of picking your battles, or picking what's important to be assertive about, and what can just
Yeah.
kind of be okay and safe.
Yeah. So I was definitely given this advice like what feels like a lifetime ago. And that was is what you're upset about gonna matter in 5 minutes? Is
Mm,
what you're upset about gonna matter in 5 days? Is what you're upset about gonna matter in 5 years?
mm,
So if on a day someone is upset that, they shouldn't be drinking soda, but they want to, am I really going to be upset about that? You know what? Okay, in 5 minutes, is the soda still going to matter? No. Now, in some cases, let's say that you have somebody that's a severe diabetic and has some major health issues, and you go, is this going to matter in 5 days that they had a soda today? In this case, yes, it does matter. So that's a battle you can fight. But if and that's just, in that relative, small term. But when somebody's going through a heartbreak or something, you're like, okay, you broke up. I worked with a lot of teenagers too. So, I said, that boy broke up with you. That really hurts. But is he going to matter? Are you going to still be hurt from him in 5 days? Your heart might still hurt. Is your heart going to hurt in 5 years from this boyfriend of 3 months? Probably not. Let's not let him bother us in 5 years. And so that's kind of when you're choosing your battles, I kind of gauge that is this just a really hard moment that is not going to matter in 3 days, Or
Hmm.
is this something that it really does matter and I need to push on it? So
Hmm.
that's kind of choosing your battles.
Hmm. And that sounds like that has a major effect on the quality of experience for everyone, because if
Yeah.
you're picky about every little thing, it's going to be a very long day.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
So how long did you work at this nursing home?
I was there for about a year and a half. Unfortunately, we had I started it at one location and we had a fire and we got displaced and moved to a different location. And it was about 45 minutes away from where I live, which made it really hard to be a mom and to for our ministry life that we do as well, and our personal time. So I had another job opening that came up here in Wagner, where I live, and um, it was time to make that change. But I loved my time at the nursing home.
So that sounds a bit scary. You had a fire at the
Yeah, we had a
what?
fire at the nursing home. So we ended up having to evacuate all of the staff and all the residents.
Were you there when it happened?
Kind of. I had just taken a resident to go vote. And
Oh my
when we were driving back from
oh my
voting,
gosh.
we saw the smoke,
Oh,
and we got there, and I will say, oh man, people laugh, and I've been in settings where people laugh about fire drills and they laugh about talking through protocols. They roll their eyes. My boss there, she was so good and diligent about running fire drills that we had an emergency situation that we had to evacuate. And it was because of her awesome preparation and
oh,
training. And
oh,
our team had some really awesome preparation
oh.
that we got every resident out safely and in a timely manner. And
Wow.
the outpouring of support from the community, we had workers from the school, the hospital, the church, the gas station, the restaurant, across the street. Everybody came over and helped us move residents to safety. Um,
How many
it was,
residents?
I want to say we had 34, I believe, at the time of the fire.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of people got moved to different homes. So, and we're still in the process of rebuilding. So,
Oh,
yeah,
oh.
yeah,
Well, what a thing. Unexpected things come up in life, and you
yeah,
deal with them the best you can.
right. Yeah.
Gosh.
But out of that, I mean, moving and so I moved to a different location. I got to know some really outstanding people at that location and at the new one. And there are some just amazing residents that they just completely touched my heart. So I'm it was a very unfortunate situation, but um out of it I made some really awesome older friends at our new location. So yeah, it was hard, but we're getting through it.
And now you have a different career, right?
Yes. So now I work for a different company. I do systems of care, which means I basically get to be a case manager for families. And actually, I just come alongside families and offer support in whichever way that they personally need. So some families need support getting into a new home, and some families need some mental health support. Other families need help with like food and groceries and paying a few bills, and so I help with that. And a couple families, they're like, I have really hard kids and I need help parenting. What do I do to make life easier for us? And I can come in and help implement some strategies in their home that will help them communicate better with their kids and as a family. So it's kind of a wide range of what I do for that.
So how did your time at the nursing home prepare you for what you do now?
I would say being able, like at the nursing home, they really prepared me for sitting down and I use the word interview people, getting to know them, listening to learn and not just listening to respond.
Mm.
Definitely helped at the nursing home. Our folks just really wanted someone to hear them, and then also just learning how to ask the right questions to dig a little deeper to get to know them, so we can really find out what they need. That definitely prepared me for this job. That I sit down with a family and I'm able to ask them a lot of questions, and I say, okay, well, you're doing well in this area. It sounds like you're struggling a little bit, but you're doing really well, still working through that. Something I can do to help support you in this is, and I can tell them. And then, we'll be talking about something completely different. I'm gonna go, okay, so what I hear is what you're really struggling is with communicating with the school. Is that something that I can help you with? And learning how to work as a team at my old job, learning how to communicate more effectively. Um, all of that definitely prepared me for interviewing families to really find out what they specifically need. It's family specific, not let me just give you this general help. It's not just, oh, I'm just going to give food to everybody. Well, not everybody needs food. What do you need specifically? And so I would say working at the nursing home definitely prepared me to kind of to dig deeper and to figure out what individually that family needs.
Please tell me a bit more about listening to learn versus listening to respond.
Oh, that's a great question too. So, I'm a talker by nature. I love to talk. And when I'm talking to somebody, I also have ADHD. So, as I'm talking, my brain is firing, saying, oh, this is what we have in common. Oh, this story relates to that. And I'm thinking about what I'm going to say instead of stopping and really listening to what they're saying and absorbing. So, they could be telling me some story about a car accident that they had. And what they're trying to tell me is the hard time that accident has caused. And they're trying to tell me, what happened from that car accident, what resulted from that. And in my brain, I'm thinking, oh, I was in a car accident. This is how it affected me. So that's listening to respond. So listening to learn and to understand, is definitely sitting and pushing all of those thoughts to the back of my head and not letting my thoughts take over, and really listening to what they're talking about and where they're coming from, and what they have gotten out of a situation. And really listening to understand somebody makes a huge difference when you're really truly trying to get to know somebody and build a relationship. Um, if you're listening to just come up with what you're going to say next, you're not really listening to that person and giving them the attention that they need or deserve, I should say.
Great description. Great description.
Oh, thank you.
It also sounds like what from what you were saying a few minutes ago that you really try and your job is offering help to your clients, but you
Mhm.
really also try to celebrate where they are strong as you offer help. Can you say more about that?
Yeah, so I think it's really important that we celebrate the little wins. I learned that a long time ago. Again, a different job. But if we don't celebrate the small steps and celebrate where we're good at, we tend to be really hard on ourselves. And so, I had a family, that she was talking about, well, I'm still struggling to communicate about this really hard thing with the child I'm caring for. And I'm struggling to, like, I don't know what to say when he says this. And I said, yeah, but and we're working through something with like parenting strategies. And and I said, okay, well, let's go back and let's look at your paperwork, from a long time ago. And
Mm.
it said you need a stable home and you want a stable job and you want to pay your bills consistently. And I said, so far you have a stable home, you're paying your bills consistently on your own. You have a fun, safe environment for you and for kids to play. And I said, look at all that you have done in this last year that when you originally came to Systems of Care, to SOC, you originally came here and said, these are all the things I can't do. I said, well, look at you. Look at all you're doing. And she smiled really big. She's like, well, dang, I am doing better than I thought I was. And she was able to have a moment to kind of celebrate. She was being really hard on herself that she wasn't, to her, she felt like she wasn't grasping the parenting side very well. And I said, but look at everything that you've done and look at the home life that you've created here. That's something to celebrate. And she finally got a little bit of that confidence boost that she was like, I am doing this. I am providing this. I am able to talk about this, and we are doing this. And I feel like if we don't celebrate those small wins and we don't acknowledge the things that we do well, we tend to get too stuck on the negatives of what we're not doing well. And I fully embrace my strengths, and hopefully can help other people point out and identify their own strengths, because and this kind of just plays into my job too, but I know that my strength, I love to network. I love to talk to people, and I love connecting the dots of, oh, this person needs a job. This person's looking for an art teacher. And I said, oh, wait, they can help each other.
Mhm.
And, I love connecting the dots. So that's my strength. And so I'm able to use my strength for my job. And your strength is talking to people and bringing joy to people. So you're using your strength to encourage and inspire others. I feel like if we know our strengths, and if we can celebrate our wins and celebrate our strengths, then we can use that to kind of help, the world, even if it's just our world right around us in our small circle. That's how we're going to impact, our little world for the best and for the better, is to celebrate those wins and those strengths, and celebrate all that.
And who knows how that ripples out?
Yes, exactly. That the ripple effect, it really can be huge. You know, I think of some of our young people that we've had in our youth ministry, that they have young people watching them. And so I'm like, okay, if it can impact this teenager, I know that their little siblings are watching them, and then seeing what the little siblings are doing because their, older sibling did something.
Mm,
Like that's just a very
mm,
simple look at it.
mm.
But what we do causes a ripple effect, positive or negative, and we got to take ownership of that. So if I'm going to celebrate, all of our strengths, then this also goes back to, I'm not going to ask a fish to climb a tree. And when I need a tree climbed, I'm going to go find a lizard. But when I need to swim, I'm going to go find a fish. So, I got to celebrate what people are good at and are strong at. And I don't know, I feel like we have to do that more as a community, as we need to celebrate what individually we're strong at.
Like you didn't get the person from the nursing home to come out of his room to do needlepoint.
Right.
You got him to do cause which he
Right.
liked. So
Exactly. Yes. And that's really actually making the calendar for that job. It was very interesting. I had to have at least 5 activities a day. And so
at
after
least 5 a day. Holy.
yes. So I mean, at least, and that's being generous. Some facilities require more, but I will say that it's one of those, you have to have balance. So in the morning, we'd have him singing, and then we would have current events to talk about the news and things going on in the world. Then we would have We had guacamole tasting one day. We made homemade guacamole, and then we had movie time with popcorn, freshly popped popcorn. And so that way, and then, the next day we'd have arts and crafts and kickball and outdoor patio party. And then we would do like puppy dog visits where the dogs would come and hang out. So that way, yes, something for each personality type. Everybody has a different preference. So I try to make sure that there is at least a few things a week that every person would identify with and want to come to. So
Well, I mean, there's a lot of creativity involved in.
it was fun. It was a lot of fun to make those schedules. It was a challenge, but it was definitely fun.
So, Darby, you wear many hats. Like another hat you wear is you co-pastor with your husband.
Yes, yes. My husband pastors a small church here in town, and we're a missions-based church. So we rely fully on the support of others and of the community. But we focus mainly on ministry outreach. So we do a lot of clothing giveaways and diapers and bicycles. We try to collect around like 150 Christmas presents every year to give away Christmas presents. We have people just in everyday life that they need gas money to make it to a medical appointments, or they need prayer, or we've done some premarital counseling. We have a local youth group and a young adult ministry, and I smile really big because they just got back from youth camp, from a warrior leadership summit is what they call it. And it is a Native American Christian camp. And it is an outstanding ministry that we just got to take a bunch of kids to that, or my husband took a bunch of kids to that. So yeah, that was super awesome. But yeah, we end up wearing a lot of hats with that as well.
And then you and your husband are parents.
Yes, yeah, I've got two kiddos that are super high energy. One loves all of the sports and wants to be active and going and always moving. And I've got the other one that's a really laid back kiddo, but just loves being around people. And she's got, both of them have just big hearts and love to pray for people and love to just nurture. They love babysitting and being around other kids, and it's pretty
Mm,
great. I've got some
mm,
pretty awesome kids.
mm. So the town you live in now is the smallest town you've lived in, right?
It is by far. I think I grew up, or for a few years, I lived in Bella Vista, Arkansas, which at the time was very, very tiny. But I was also very, very tiny. But no, Wagner is definitely the smallest town I've ever lived in. And it's a one stoplight town. That's our joke. And I love it though. I go home to Kansas City and to Springfield, Missouri, and I go home to visit, and I can't get back to Wagner fast enough. I'm like, get me out of this traffic, get me back to my small town where I know everybody. And yeah, it's interesting. Definitely the smallest town I've ever lived in.
What would you say to someone who's just thinks that small town living in a small town
Like
be
some benefits.
would be too boring? What would you say to them?
Um, I would just say embrace the small town activities. Um, pour into your community 100%. If you are not engaging in your activity, or engaging in your community is not really going to engage with you. If you have the opportunity to go cheer on the local sports team at the local high school, go do that. Those kids love having people cheering them on. If you have an opportunity to volunteer at any of the churches, Go volunteer at the churches. You never know who you're going to make a difference with. Um,
Mm,
buy into it, be a part of it, show
mm.
up. Show up is definitely the biggest thing. Small towns are great, but you got to
So,
contribute.
so living in a small town is definitely a participation sport, huh?
I think so. Unless you just really don't like being around people, then that's also great because they'll leave you alone because they don't know who you are.
Nice, nice, nice.
So something for everybody, I guess.
Um, what, we're getting towards the end of our conversation, and I'm wondering, do you have any comments to tie this all together? We talked about community, creativity. We also talked about arguing and fighting with each other, but yet being kind to each other.
Yeah. So I would say if I had to leave a final remark, it would be the person that you needed when you were going through something, or be the person that you needed when you were younger. I needed somebody who was I wish I'd had a mentor who would have um shaken me up a little bit and challenged me, and who
Mm,
would have been encouraging, and who would be honest, but would also, encourage me to try harder than I was. And I know when I was in my 20s, I needed an older mentor again to push me a little bit harder and say, you can do this. You can do hard things. And and then we've been in places, and many of us have been in places that it's like, oh well, I really could have used a friend in that moment, somebody to listen. Well, I
mm,
can be that for somebody else now too.
mm,
And
mm,
looking back on your own life, who did you need in your life at different points of time? Can you be that person for somebody else? And
mm. I
you
love
know
that. Can you be the person you needed?
yes,
Wow,
exactly. So
powerful.
yeah, I mean that's kind of my biggest gift when I walk away from people is, what can you do to contribute to be the person that you needed, just in general.
Mm,
And that's going to look
mm.
different for everybody, because again, we go to everybody's strengths, everybody's giftings. How can you
Everybody's giftings. What a nice phrase
Yeah, so what can you do to pay that forward to somebody else?
to pay that forward. Wow.
Yeah.
And then last question, and I ask each of my guests this: what does doing your imperfect best mean to you?
uh my imperfect best is that I showed up, and that I that I was my most authentic self. As goofy as I am, and as socially awkward as I am sometimes, and as talkative as I am, as introverted as I am sometimes, doing my imperfect best is showing up and contributing the best that I can, in my best, in giving my best in that moment, in that situation.
Wonderful. I love it. And just one more thing you just said. So you're both extroverted and introverted.
I am. I joke. I know there's a real name for it, but I call myself an introverted extrovert. I'm very social. And I can do it, and I can be social, and I want to be around people, but I really enjoy people watching. And I also really I crave alone time and time to recharge my battery. But yeah, so I'm an introverted extrovert.
That is a powerful idea that we can be more than one thing, more than one way in life. Powerful.
100%. 100%.
Thanks so much for having a conversation with me, Darby.
Yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me, Jason. I really appreciate it.
Cool. Cool. You're welcome. Great to have you on.
Thank you.
So interesting. I could go back through that with a notebook and write down like great things Darby said to implement in my life. There's wisdom all around us, and you have wisdom too. So I urge you to be curious about other people and learn from them, but also be willing to share and to give your wisdom, your opinions, your stories, your insights. That give and take is so powerful. Thanks so much for tuning in. Please leave comments if you want to. I love comments. And tune in for another episode of Awkwardly Awesome Podcast next week.